for taking time to attend this media briefing event and commemorating this very special day with us and the rest of the world. I wish to acknowledge the presence of all media houses here present. You are very important to us. We know you could have chosen to be anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here with us today. We really appreciate that. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of two of my fellow colleagues, distinguished guests among us. To my right, Mr. Jacob Mafume. He is no stranger to you all. He is the spokesperson for the People's Democratic Party and a prominent Harare human rights lawyer. To my left is Mr. Swanda. He is also a Harare-based lawyer, a human and developmental rights lawyer. I believe I'm no stranger to you as well. My name is Mtombe Nidumisani. I am a lawyer with the Matangai P attorneys, an anti-corruption activist and consultant, founder and managing director of Zero Tolerance Wise Consultancy. Before we commence today's proceedings, you may wish to know we had invited representatives from the Judicial Service Commission, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, the Prosecutor General's Office, but unfortunately, we have received apologies from the PA to Justice Makarau, that is from the Judicial Service Commission, and an apology from the Acting Secretary for the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. They have indicated that they received the invitations rather too late. As you are well aware, we only made efforts to arrange for these events in the last 2 days, after having learned that no other commemorative event had been planned for Harare, and in particular by the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. Hence, as anti-corruption activists, concerned citizens, we decided to take it upon ourselves, take the responsibility, and come up with this program as a way of showing our commitment to the fight against corruption, so that Zimbabwe is not left out in these commemorations together with the international community. First and foremost, you will hear from Mr. Jacob Mafume. He will speak to you and share with all of us his views on corruption, the various categories of corruption, and the possible solutions and way forward in the fight against corruption. Mr. Mafume, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I was saying to the chairperson, the last time I saw the word prominent being used against a lawyer is when he's about to be arrested for corruption or something. And so I'm delighted that the chairperson is conferred the title of prominent on me, and I'm happy to see you as always. It is important that even though you were given short notice of the event, you were able to turn up. At least it shows that certain sectors of society take corruption issues seriously, as we all should. My topic will be more anecdotal than substantive, because all of us have some definition of corruption. This is a very important day for the world and Africa in large. It should be commemorated, as it were, by government, especially the anti-corruption authorities, and so forth. And it is an indictment that they do not take advantage of such days to popularize the issues around corruption in government and so forth and so forth. But the corruption, Zimbabwe is a very corrupt society. I speak from my party, the People's Democratic Party. As such, I told the organizers of this conference that when you call us, you are calling the hard hitters. We speak without censorship. And there's a party which wants to profile itself as an alternative. But Zimbabwe, the pain of Zimbabwean society has been corruption. We have been affected on many fronts. We can look at it from the economic front. Let's look, for instance, the budget that has recently been announced. The mega deals from China. We've got a power station that is going to cost us $1.4 billion to produce 600 megawatts, or whatever. If you go on the open market, if you look around those things, they cost around 600 million. Ours is going to cost twice as much, plus a $200 million added on top. Now, these mega deals have been announced and done in secrecy. No one knows what are the agreements, except the brief statements by the Minister of Finance in Parliament that the loans are for 2% and they will be returnable over, I don't know, a 10-year or 20-year period, how they engaged. Then, alarmingly, we've got a Parliament building in the same mega deals that costs around $120 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are US dollars we are talking about. $120 million US to build a Parliament building. To put it into context, a Parliament building is more like your conventional conference center, right? With big conference rooms, smaller conference rooms, and then offices for the presiding officers and those who are permanent. So that's basically what Parliament is. It's just a few big halls and a few offices. And you are told that it's going to cost you $120 million. These buildings, we had a defense college that cost another $100 million. How our government has never heard of 10 million, 20 million, or 30 million befuddles the mind. What is in a 120 million conference facility? Are they going to have gold statues of the speaker, gold statues of whatever? Take, for example, the city council, the Norton Jeffries Waterworks, 150 million. At the end of the day, we heard that they bought cars for the chief executives and senior executives using those loans. So we have an opaqueness in terms of how our tenders are given. Now, there will be power stations, there are so many, all these tenders are not openly discussed and we don't get the best price. Then you look at the behavior of our politicians. All of them build houses with many toilets. So you've got my friend Kasukuwere. He's got a house that probably is about 15 toilets. Now, how does a person want 15 toilets in a house? The first house, in the corridor there's a toilet. At the bedroom there's a toilet. In his bedroom there's a toilet. At the end of the kitchen there's a toilet. At the end of the... if you move along Shawasha Hills, you will see houses that have more light than streets. So you drive in a very dark road. Then you get to this person's house. It has more light than the whole street that you travel in. I don't know whether the people in there are blind. And the house is humongous. It can land helicopters on top. And most of these guys, they've never swum. Swimming. They don't know swimming. So they get rich, they build Olympic-sized swimming pools. In their houses. So you go to this luncheon with the government official. The man even, the last time he saw a swimming pool, it was a mad little river in his home village. He's got an Olympic-sized swimming pool. No one in his family, from his grandfather to his children, can swim or even take a proper bath. They can't, but they have these huge things. Then the salaries of public officials. Cabinet Dewey was earning 500,000 US dollars a month. Mahachi was earning $35,000 a month. So these are US dollars. Just look at your life this week. How many dollars did you survive on? If all these people in this room, if this week you survived on more than $300, you're a rich person. Some of us have survived over 3 months or 4 weeks on $50. 50 cents kombi. Yekudzoka. $1.50 sadza ne beans. Then musoka farisa $2 sadza nechi ne drumstick. But there's a person who wants to earn $35,000 per month for delivering nothing. $500,000 a month. It's mind-boggling. You know, I ran for a constituency of a very poor makeup. Now, if you go to those people and tell them that someone is earning 500,000, they can't even begin to imagine what you are talking about. They don't even understand. They are living on 35 cents per day. So those figures, they don't know that a person there's a bank that can hold 20 million, or that it can be counted and pile up this much. So you have that kind of corruption in this society of obscene salaries, and no one sees. And the uproar is not that much. Moven Mahachi is fired. He negotiates for $1 million US package. $1 million US as a package. The rest of the people are earning $200 and $300. You go lower to the streets, you've got extortion centers that has been set up by the police, which they nominally call roadblocks. I call them extortion centers, or if not blackmail centers. The person comes to your car, he will always find a fault, which you have to pay $20. And now what is alarming is that the budget is said, Chinamasa has said he wants us to pay $100 for selected fines. Can you imagine what stop per roadblock wants to pay $100 because you didn't stop behind a white line? Comrades, who has seen a white line at a road recently? Yeah? You can't even see the road itself, isn't it? Let alone to imagine that there is a white line in that road. Now that is the height of state institutionalized corruption. The other corruption which is there is that these guys actually make you pay for something you don't get. So you prepay for electricity you don't get. This is state institutionalized theft. I charge you $50 prepay for electricity. You go to your house, there is no electricity. The city council charges you $200 or $100 for water. Other suburbs have not had water for 10 years, but they charge. And they actually, these days, they're issuing summons and attaching property for things that they never delivered. They make you work, they don't give you a salary, but they need to prepay everything. So now, Chinamasa in his budget, he said we will prepay for water. We are working, but we are not even being paid post-working. If this government wanted to prepay things, why don't they prepay us for our labor? So that you are paid in advance your salary. So that you can also pay these bills prepaid before you get them. So if you want my work, prepay it. I will come to work and work, isn't it? Why is it strange that they think it's appropriate for them? It's corruption. And we are not hitting them hard as practitioners, media practitioners. The budget is announced. That is the most corrupt budget that has ever been announced in this government. The city council, another most corrupt budget. No one picks this up. $100 fines, inflated costings for everything. Other things are just downright lies. The economy will grow by this percentage. Unfounded, thumb-sucked figures. Now, so there's corruption. And then, you know, there's petty corruption for every service you get. If you want a passport, you have to pay someone. If you want this, you have to pay someone, and so forth. Then you move on to the moral. The moral fabric of this society has been corrupted beyond what I call repair. Firstly, the thieves themselves are the ones that sit with the prophets. You know, if you look at the the prophet events, the VIPs, it's like a rogues gallery. The guys whom you know are in remand are the ones that are seated donating large sums of money with no shame. The big thieves are the ones that sit there. So it's madness. They even donate houses, cars to these prophets, to these churches, and everyone is singing hallelujah, amen. And no one is pointing out the illogic nature of it all. How can a nation be blessed to be stealing? The prophets are no longer ashamed to be associated with thieves and so forth. Maybe they don't know. Sometimes prophecy might not see when you are going to die and someone and things like that, but you not see. Then, of course, this one is raping that one. The billboards of newspapers every day. Lover's mother rapes a daughter, a son rapes a mother, a mother. It's full of weird sexual things. Strippers make headlines in Zimbabwe. So bad. Can you believe a newspaper that is a broadsheet? You are in the media industry. A broadsheet, and it's supposed to be a serious paper that deals with the issues. You wake up and says, "Bears stands in London." She went there and took off her clothes. So our newspapers decided to put it in the front page as news for the whole nation. That one of our daughters went to London and managed to take almost all of the clothes off. And there is national news, people buy and so forth and so forth. So that is the moral corruption at its best. And then these politicians, they remarry after a few 10 years. If you notice that most of these politicians have got wives that die early. So they get young ones, yellow bones, nice. They even are not ashamed, so they have weddings. A person in his lifetime is about 3 or 4 weddings, depending on how senior he is in the political. So you go there. Every 10 years you celebrate your acquiring of a new wife. Everyone comes, donates money. It's corrupt. Try to get a job, try to get a place if you are a woman. Carpet interviews now. These days buildings have got tiles. Don't know whether they are calling them tiled interviews. There are tiles interviews galore in this society. If you want something, then give me something. The women are now vulnerable. Now with this generation by notice that has happened, it's beyond belief what is going to happen. I can go on about even in sports. The current president of FIFA is a man who is known for taking selfies with the young girls whom he calls lovers. So the guy will go on the internet, say, "I'm big Phil, I've got big women." And they'll be saying, Phil. And the guy gets FIFA president. He's voted by people who are adults, the so-called adults that we used to know. They sit there and they say, "We vote for Phil Chiangwa." For Phil, what is his name? Chiangwa. And so forth. And then, of course, there's investment corruption. China comes, they take, how many Chinese are in the small gold mines? How many Chinese are in the shops? How many Chinese are in our so-called factories? How many Chinese are in the schools? Very soon everyone will be learning China so that we could be Chinese, so that we can be housemates and garden boys for the new colonizers. It's so bad. There were miners in Chiadzwa. The only investment that Manicaland got from the Chiadzwa diamond fields is a Chinese message for Pala, which masquerades as a hotel. So it's about 6 stories high. That's the only investment that Manicaland got. And a few holes in the ground. They even arrested a Chiadzwa who was named after the diamond fields. He was arrested for having diamonds from Chiadzwa. That's our corrupt people, they arrest those who are not corrupt. So this guy is saying, no, but the Chiadzwa diamonds are after my name. I'm Chief Chiadzwa. And no, you can't have diamonds. We're arresting you. It's front page news. The thieves arrested the man whose name is after it. It's like me. If you say, these are my female diamonds, and you arrest me for having 10 diamonds, for me it was going to be dead. They have to kill me or else. So that's where we are. But what is the solution? As a political party, I'll say in conclusion, In conclusion, as a political party, I'll say obviously the normal answer. I do believe that the current government cannot help itself. It is irredeemably corrupt. We need a change of government, and we bring in people who are progressive, who don't want to build toilets everywhere. But then second, naming and shaming in the first place has to happen. We have to shame the corrupt people. They have to be moved so that our children do not emulate corruption. Our children cannot learn these decadent moral values. Then secondly, we need an effective anti-corruption commission, not this one which has took long to be made and it has not made any arrest of corruption. Thirdly, the courts have to be effective. I sometimes believe that criminals themselves phone the courts to be arrested, the corrupt ones, because that's the only time you can eat your money freely. You get arrested, there's a loop about you not getting bail for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then you get bail, then you find some funny technicality that no one has found. You still, then sometimes you're not a public official, you were a private official, and then you get out of jail, the money that you get, you don't return it back, you eat. So I have a feeling that corrupt people like courts. They phone, they are arrested, deny bail, and they go. So I think we need effective court systems and deterrent sentences. And finally, we need a forfeiture clause in our laws. The proceeds of crimes must be forfeited. Then secondly, ZIMRA must step up its lifestyles audit. I mean, if you pass by and you are driving and you are a ZIMRA official and someone is building a monstrosity in your neighborhood, surely, like they do with companies, if you put a billboard that this is my company, they will come and say, if you paid taxes, why don't they go to those houses and they drive by and say, hello, my brother, your house looks like Sheraton. Can we know where you got the money? Did you pay taxes? And how much did you pay the taxes for? That's what happens in every society. So how we love your house? It's so big. Hey, let's have a lifestyle audit. Where did you get the money? What taxes do you pay? Where do you pay the taxes at? Let's see your financial record. If you haven't paid, we look at the value of your house and say your house is worth 5 million. You therefore owe Zimra 35% of your house. And we get our due. We can't have thieves living tax-free lives like this. What is you, if you earn $500, you have to pay 150 of that $500 every month as taxes. Comrades, I'm a politician, I can talk the whole morning, but thank you for listening. But these are our views on corruption and the solutions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mafume. You all have an opportunity to put questions to Mr. Mafume or the other panelists after we are done with the brief speeches. I'll proceed to read out my prepared speech for the day. The United Nations International Anti-Corruption Day is commemorated on the 9th of December every year. The main objective is to raise public awareness of corruption and ways to fight it. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and the United Nations Development Program UNDP have launched a campaign to raise awareness about corruption, which calls for people from all walks of life to take action against this crime. The theme, Break the Corruption Chain, encourages governments, the private sector, and the general public to tackle this issue by changing their attitudes. The campaign also highlights that corruption is a cross-cutting crime impacting many areas. It shows that acting against corruption is imperative to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, which aim to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. The United Nations and the UNDP have chosen this theme, Break the Corruption Chain, for this establishes international anti-corruption commemorations so that governments, political leaders, civic society organizations, citizens, the media, and all other stakeholders are encouraged to work together against corruption by promoting the International Anti-Corruption Day and the issues that surround this event. As anti-corruption advocates, we have organized this event to engage especially the media to assist us in raising awareness about corruption and how we can collectively fight corruption together with all Zimbabwean citizens. On this day, corruption fighters like ourselves are encouraged to mobilize other stakeholders and citizens within their community and help raise awareness through various initiatives, which may include discussion forums, musicals, plays, and delivery of keynote speeches, and any such other activities that focus on the theme of fighting corruption. As Zero Tolerance Wise Consultancy, we wish to implore Zimbabwean citizens and all other relevant stakeholders in the fight against corruption to support and complement our government's zero tolerance policy against corruption and each other's efforts. Let us take heed of our President's public call for a corruption-free leadership and society. The fight against corruption requires a shared and collective responsibility, which should see all stakeholders actively participating in the fight against corruption. There is no government in the world that has ever managed to successfully tackle corruption on its own without the active participation and support from its citizens and relevant stakeholders. In the same vein, I wish to implore some civic society organizations that are always confrontational towards the Zimbabwean government and political leadership to change their attitude and opt for engagement. Let us build collapsed bridges and find each other for the greater good of our people. We can make Zimbabwe a corruption-free society if we can only join forces and pull in the same direction. On the other hand, I humbly implore our government to do more so as to build the citizens' trust in our institutions and government. We have very good laws and policies that are meant to prevent, combat, and punish offenders. Let us implement same to the letter of the law so that we can improve the perceptions that the international community has about our country. Our economic blueprint, Zima said, will only be successful if and only if we manage to effectively address the problem of corruption. As corruption fighters, we humbly implore the President to urgently swear in commissioners to the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission so that the commission becomes functional. The very fact that we have not had a functional Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission in the last 2 years defies every averment that we are very committed to the fight against corruption as a country. Article 6 of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which talks of preventive anti-corruption bodies, is very instructive. It is one of the mandatory provisions in the UNCAC, which states that each state party shall, not may, but shall, in accordance with the fundamental principles of its legal system, ensure there is the existence of a body or bodies as appropriate that prevent corruption by such means as implementing the policies referred to in Article 5 of the Convention, the increasing and disseminating knowledge about the prevention of corruption. 2, each state party shall grant the body or bodies referred to in paragraph 1 of this article the necessary independence in accordance with the fundamental principles of its legal system to enable the body or bodies to carry out its or their functions effectively and free from any undue influence. The necessary material resources and specialized staff, as well as training that such staff may require to carry out their functions, should be provided. In that vein, we realize that Zimbabwe has been on autopilot in as far as the fight against corruption is concerned in the last 2 years, without the captain, which is supposed to be the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. This is very worrisome and frustrating for any serious person who is committed to the fight against corruption. We must also do away with the culture of impunity which is prevalent in this country. Corruption has become a low risk and high benefit enterprise in Zimbabwe, and hence citizens, and especially those who hold positions of influence in society, find it more attractive to engage in corrupt practices than to desist from engaging in corruption. All appointments must be based on merit as opposed to appointments based on political party patronage, cronyism, and nepotism. Everyone with expertise in any field should be available and qualified for any appointment, regardless of political party affiliation or place of origin. The very fact that ZEC is now under the office of the President and Cabinet should induce the highest office in the country, that is the President's office, to demonstrate real political will to fight corruption. Our political leadership must demonstrate the political will the same way the Tanzanian President, President Magufuli, and the Chinese President are doing it. We implore our political leadership and government to walk the talk. That is the only way that citizens in Zimbabwe will have the confidence in the government and in our institutions, and they will find it necessary to come forward and report cases of corruption and blow the whistle. We also implore our government and the legislature to immediately look into our whistleblowing laws so that we have SEM, which then encourages citizens to freely report cases of corruption. Last but not least, we implore our government to go on a robust corruption prevention and public awareness overdrive, so as to educate our people on what corruption really is, as well as the role they should play in the fight against corruption. You will be shocked to learn that we do not even have a cannot even begin to fight something that we don't understand. As such, the fight against corruption is dependent on all our active participation in this cause. It is not government's sole responsibility to fight corruption, but the responsibility lies in you and I, in all of us as relevant stakeholders. I thank you all. Over to you, Mr. Swanda. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bishop, since the core of our business is done already, but having in mind the idea that we are breaking the chain, it means the chain is there. Corruption today is not about going there, it's not about symptoms of something to come, but we are in it already. And I think everybody has been affected in one way or another, especially if you look at the public sector corruption, which is where I'm coming from. I believe the government has not done much in bringing forth programs that relate to anti-corruption. Hence, we find a skeleton kind of a commemoration today of this very important day. If indeed corruption is serious, if indeed we're seeing the effects of corruption as negative in our society, as burrowing our society into a moraha, I believe it's important for an initiative to be taken that shows that we are serious in our fight against corruption. I look basically at public sector corruption because this is where I'm coming from, like I've said. And if you go into any public places today, you need to present what I call an incentive, or polite people will say an obligation. It's all good terms to try and cake the whole incident of dirty words like corruption. We are ice creaming corruption. You come in and say you need to present an initiative. You have an obligation to make. Anyway, be it small, be it big, it's all corruption. And it's all found in those public places, public sector. And I believe it's important for a day like today for everybody to stand up and say, I want to be counted. I'm a man in, I'm throwing in a fight against corruption. It's important for us to go into the community and spread a word that fights corruption. These are the few words that I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Panda. Indeed, he's a man of few words, unlike Mr. Mafome. If there is anyone amongst you who has a question to ask these two gentlemen, you may proceed to do so. This is your opportunity, especially this politician, Mr. Mafome, who wants to be in power. It's your opportunity. You can have him for breakfast and lunch. Mr. Mklam, you can set the ball rolling. You are still stomaching what was said. Anyone with a question? Don't be intimidated. Yes.
Maybe my question to Mr. Mafumi is what's your take on the appointment of Mr. Goodson into the Murder Corruption Commission, considering past history?
Mr. Mafumi,
Yes.
what's your question?
That's the tragedy of the appointment. Mr. Goodson has been a character. I would not want to have him sue me for defamation, so I'll be careful. He's a very litigious person in the attention seeker. But I would hazard to say that such people are not the people we expect to have been appointed as marshals against corruption. He has been not a rent seeker of note. He has survived on the fringes of government, taking the drops like Lazarus, that drop from the main table. And for then him to try and pursue the colleagues that he has been working with is expecting too much. We thought that the appointment of the commissioners was going to be a more rigorous exercise. People were going to be scrutinized. The media was going to look into their lives. You know, if you look at the appointments in other countries, you don't ambush your citizens when you're appointing anti-corruption commissioners. They don't wake up one morning reading the Herald or some such other paper and find, oh, the Anti-Corruption Commission has been appointed so and so, and they are now in the president's office. No, that's not how it works nowadays. Names are flighted, histories are checked, people are interviewed, they are asked about past transactions, what they've done. Others decline the appointments because of the media scrutiny, and then you come up with men and women of integrity. I don't think the women and men in that commission have had their background scrutinized and checked and verified whether they are men and women of integrity. They've not even declared their assets. That's terrible. We don't even know what assets they own themselves, which should be a basic elementary thing in an anti-corruption commission. So that after 5 years, if we see that you have grown richer, we question why you have grown richer. The best thing that they should do, have your assets. Look, I've worked for so many years. I've got 10 houses. This has been my tax record. I've paid my taxes. I'm a citizen of this country. Not these opaque individuals that will not, even the devil himself will be afraid to shake their heads lest he loses his fingers.
Mr. Mafome is a man of many words. Unfortunately, to respond to your question, you had put the question to Mr. Mafome and myself. Unfortunately, I do not know Mr. Nkuni personally, neither do I know his background. So I'm actually, my hands are tied. I cannot comment. I cannot be of any assistance to you. Another question? Yes.
I think I would
question is open, as in, besides what you have noted as what should be done to fight against corruption, what have you done at the moment? What have you done so far to fight against corruption? Is there any way that you've done that can be noted at the moment?
Are you posing the question to me or to each and every one of us?
I think to the open.
All right, I can be the first to respond to that. As you are aware, I am a very active and vocal anti-corruption activist in Zimbabwe. One of the few who have had the guts to confront the issue head on. I am a former regional prosecutor myself. I worked at Rotembo Magistrates Court from 2008 when corruption was so rife within the justice delivery system. And I have seen it all, but due to my dedication to my work and professionalism, in 2010, I was actually chosen, nominated from government due to my background and work ethic to go and represent the country in Japan, October, November 2010, where I attended the 13th International Training Course on the Criminal Justice Response to Corruption, which marked the beginning of my journey in the fight against corruption. It was a United Nations sponsored training course. From there, I have never looked back. I have joined several international anti-corruption organizations, which I am an active member of. I have been to many international training programs. After Japan, I went to Brazil, the Philippines, Panama. In 2014, I was actually chosen by Transparency International as the only youth representative for the whole of Central and Southern Africa to attend the Transparency International Summer School on Integrity in Lithuania. I've been to Nigeria, I've been to Egypt to observe elections as part of my work, but locally, I am always in the front. I have not led from the back, but from the front. I've always been vocal, be it on national television, be it on national radio, in the communities. I've been engaging rural communities, I've been engaging citizens. And at some time, I even wrote the only and the first corruption column, weekly column, in our local newspapers. I used to write a column called Corruption Watch for almost a year. And I only stopped when I realized that politicians were now using the issue of corruption to fight each other. I didn't want to be perceived as if I was pushing anyone's agenda. So I stopped. I have written a book on corruption. It will be coming out very soon. I've done a corruption prevention and awareness campaign song. I've penned down a song with Tali B. You should check on it on YouTube. We are actually appealing for funding and sponsorship for that song, so that we record a video for it. The audio is done. These are ways that we have used to try and push the anti-corruption agenda. But through our public utterances and demands for transparency, accountability, and integrity, we've also been teaching citizens on what corruption is, their role in the fight against corruption, encouraging them not to be afraid to speak up, because corruption thrives on our silence. I have even caused arrests of several police officers, especially. Why? Because we have been receiving mainly complaints from citizens against the police, and we have taken the issues up and have caused several police officers to be arrested and to be prosecuted. And I'm made to understand 2 have actually been fired from the police force. So we are private citizens. I'm just a youth, but I can point to so many things that I have personally done without funding from anyone. using my own little resources and with the support of my colleagues, fellow youths who are in this room and others who are not here. We have been doing a lot, but who are we? We are just nobodies. We are not even a political party. We don't have any backing or funding. But under those difficult circumstances, we have tried to show the country that even without money, you can influence positive change and reform. You can lead a particular cause which can benefit others and not yourself, and all in the name of doing what is good and what is right.
Yes, what if I done? Look, we are telling you that you need to change government. We are very clear as the People's Democratic Party that the current government is heavily infested with corrupt individuals. They even donate factors at their own rallies that we get from loans in Brazil. So we are very clear on that one. Some of us have been in this fight ever since 2000, when I graduated as a lawyer in 2000, and I've chosen the path of opposition to deal with political, moral, and so forth corruption. Then secondly, I was a member of TIZ. TIZ at some point, we board member or what, and we spoke against this corruption. But we are available at any platform to speak, castigate, and once we get the reins of power, we will pursue corruption like no man's business. Our president, Tendai Biti, was the one who blew the whistle on the issue of diamonds, that they were not coming to the fiscus. Someone was eaten, and that's the only time during his tenure that Zimbabwe got about 600 million from the diamonds. Ever since, we don't even know what is now coming out of the diamonds every year. But we are committed individuals who blow the whistle on corrupt acts, and when we get into positions of influence, we will make sure that we will join hands with organizations like Zero Tolerance Wise Consultants to deal with the scourge of corruption. We were watching the Tanzanian president with a keen eye. It's early days yet, but he has set a precedent and a trend that is not like political politicians in Africa. It's a good example. We wish him all the best, and it is a model that people can follow in how to tackle corruption. Seriously.
Clearly, Mr. Mafume is trying to solicit for my vote
Yes.
so that he gets into government. It doesn't come cheap, Mr. Mafume. And maybe before he can say something, something was just lingering at the back of my mind. Mr. Mafume, your political party has been born from other political parties which came before it. And one of the issues which has always been raised by some members of the public who are critical is that your party members, especially the most influential ones, were in government at some stage. And what is it that they did to champion the cause against corruption? You have referred to one, your president, Mr. Biti. But as a political party, you have been in government at some stage through your individual leadership. Why is it that you failed to come out or to influence the desired results? If you can just shed more light.
The problem with corruption in our government and in our political setup is that it is systematic. It is, what do you call it? Systematic, and systematic and institutionalized. Therefore, if you are anti-corruption, the system spits you out. You are a what is it? A square peg in a round hole. You cannot fit. It rejects. You know the reaction that your body has when it's fighting disease. And there's a violent reaction against any purity that may any purities that may come in. That is darkness normally deals with light. So technically, we couldn't. We realized that this thing was more institutionalized than we had anticipated. So most of you will assume that the ministers and so forth are the ones that are the most corrupt. But unfortunately, corruption has got nameless and faceless individuals who may actually benefit more than the ministers. There are people whose names you will never know. That's why there are so many houses in Chishawash that are bigger than even the ministers' houses. There is this person who sits in a corner office. No name, no public, no one has voted for him, no one, he's just there, he doesn't go into the newspaper. He's the one who comes to the minister and says, Minister, I hear you have 5 children who are about to go to university. What is the problem? You know, these things are easy. We can arrange that their fees be paid for this year. Then you will return the money. The minister spends 2 months, obviously he can't return the money. So no one is the minister. The issue is there's a contract that's coming up, a tender. Why don't you, these guys, you know the fees that I paid, these guys had given me that money. But they are saying no problem. If we get that tender, there's no need for the minister to return the what? The money. So you'll find that the bigger corruption might actually be with those nameless. And because you find that most of these politicians, if they leave office, they immediately become poor. But you'll be told they stole 50 million, they stole 20 million. But just remove him from office, you realize, yes, sometimes he doesn't even know. Take, for example, these guys who have been given to run the Ministry of Transport, Narakumbo. Do you think he knows aviation? Does he know the price of making a road? 1 kilometer of a road. What happens in making a road? Some of these ministers have no clue what happens, why it's happening. They will also be surprised as they are reading the paper. Oh, 20 million was stolen from my ministry. How it was stolen? It was stolen, they don't know. So that's the difficulty about some of this, because they are talking about complex issues, building of an airport. The guy can't even build a house for himself in these small houses. Yet he is supposed to supervise the building of a place where a Boeing double-decker is supposed to land, when he can't build a driveway for his car. So that's some of the issues where corruption is difficult to do.
You want to say something?
Sure. In response to your question, a very important question. The idea really is not to personalize who has done what and who is not doing what. I believe about corruption, it's everybody coming together and fighting. I believe everyone has been affected by corruption negatively or sometimes positively. But being part of this initiative is what I would call a war cry. And this is how much you can do as people. It takes 2 to tango. With corruption, we really need government's hand and help. So what we're doing now, what I'm doing personally, is forgiving my time in all other aspects and giving it here. Focusing my time on here, because I think this is important. This raises a cry. You don't start a war if you don't have a war cry. If you know the New Zealand team, before they get into a rugby match, they have a serious war cry. It's to raise awareness. This is what I'm doing now. Secondly, I've worked with Transparency International, raising awareness in the public sector and fighting corruption in the public sector. And with the Transparency International, we've come up with a code of conduct that somehow fights corruption. And this is the small and the little that I've done. I believe it goes a step further into making our cry louder, and maybe government can step in and hear us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What it means is that there is no effort too small. There is no effort too big. Every effort by each and every one of us, the very fact that you are here, you have decided to come and attend this rather less flamboyant, small event, means a lot. it means that you appreciate that we do have a serious problem of corruption in Zimbabwe, and you are determined to see that problem being addressed. That is a plus on its own. You need not have invested $1 million in the fight against corruption, but just having the appreciation and taking your time to come and attend is a big contribution. Those who have millions are probably soliciting for more out there as we are speaking. So that should never be taken for granted. We really appreciate your attendance and your participation. I would know if anyone has something that is very burning before we.
I just wanted to confirm your first name because no one said your first name. And also to understand.
Oh, you can respond on that first.
Bongai Sibanda.
Bongai. Yeah. Okay. And then also I just wanted to appreciate that all forms of government that are supposed to be in the fight for corruption have not organized anything, and rather they have not managed to come. How does that speak to you in terms of government's commitment to fight corruption? And you having been a beneficiary of government, you went to Japan on the ticket of government and stuff like that. Are you then going to stand up and actually honestly tackle and say government you are being corrupt at this point?
Right. First and foremost, point of correction. I'm not a beneficiary to any government-sponsored trip. The government through the Minister of Justice simply nominated me. Not only myself, we were 5 who were shortlisted to apply. And it was the Japanese who then processed the applications and ended up picking me. And it was the United Nations and JICA which was funding everything. The government of Zimbabwe did not even inject a single cent in that one. But I just happened to be working in government at that time. But nonetheless, that does not deter me at all in calling a spade a spade. If you have read or listened to any of my interviews, be it on ZBC or on radio, I am always blunt. I call a spade a spade. I believe in being honest and forthright, we can make Zimbabwe tick. And as opposed to just trying to cajole the issues and be hypocritical about it. We would not be here if I was not serious. We would not be here if my colleagues were not serious. The very fact that we realized that no event had been organized by the relevant institutions which were supposed to do that, or any other big organization with the funding, and we decided to do it, is a sign of citizens who know that they are and should be responsible enough to take on the obligation, no matter how heavy the burden may be. So we will always give the government constructive criticism. We will always show appreciation whenever and if ever they do anything that deserves to be commended. Not only the government, even the opposition. He would not be here if I was biased. We extended the invitation to various political parties, but he promised you would come, and he is here, and we are happy. We do not even hide anything. Just this morning I was on Morning View on SFM, and we were hitting hard. We were just blunt, telling it as it is. It will never change. That is a sign of true patriotism, not political party defined patriotism, but Zimbabwean true patriotism. A citizen who knows what is right for the country, who is free and able to make public pronouncements, no matter how difficult or painful it may be, but I believe in the truth and in telling only the truth. You wanted to respond the non-availability of relevant institutions. But I've already advised all of you that they did send their apologies. The thing being, maybe I don't want to answer on their behalf, but they only told us that you only sent us the invitation yesterday, which is true. We only decided to organize this after 2 days ago, after we learned nothing was happening. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and for attending. The commemorations do not end here. You can take the commemorations to your colleagues. Encourage them to venture into investigative journalism. You see what has happened in Ghana. An investigative journalist has caused the arrest of many judges, and only yesterday 20 were actually convicted of corrupt practices. We implore you all to consider being investigative journalists in corruption-related issues. Have yourselves a very good day, and we hope to meet on some other forums. Thank you.